Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Abeer's Book Reviews, and today I'll be reviewing this book, The Empire of Pain by Patrick Radden Keefe, The Secret History of the Sackler Dynasty. So obviously this book talks about the Sackler family, who was a very powerful and influential family in the United States. And if you don't know who they are the family behind a big pharmaceutical company called Purdue Pharma. And Purdue Pharma used to manufacture a drug called OxyContin. And that is infamously the drug which is behind the US opioid epidemic, which started in the late 1990s and is unfortunately still going on today. So the book talks about the history of the family up until the time that the book came out, which is 2021. It starts off with sort of the patriarch of the family, who was Arthur Sackler. It talks about how he got started in life, what all business ventures did he go into, how did he get into the pharmaceuticals industry, and it talks about his two brothers who were more consequential and influential to Purdue Pharma. And then it sort of tracks their history, what all did they do at Purdue, how, what products did they manufacture prior to OxyContin, what happened after OxyContin, and the aftermath of various litigations and suits and public defamations. It talks about the Sackler family's contributions as a philanthropic family, their contributions to various museums around the world, various universities and other institutions as well. And it gives you an overview of sort of the extent that the Purdue Pharma board members, who were the Sackler family people, the extent that they went to in order to promote OxyContin and maximize their profits. Now that has been made very clear inside of the book that the Sackler family was well aware of the negative side effects of OxyContin and how they, despite knowing that it has severe addictive qualities and it has a tendency where people get dependent on it and can, in severe cases, they can overdose when given the higher dosages. Despite having all that information, the Sacklers continued to push OxyContin and getting doctors around the U.S. to keep on prescribing it in higher and higher doses, which eventually led to an epidemic. But there's also another side of the story which the book keeps highlighting quite frequently, and which is sort of used as the defense that the Sackler family uses, was that this drug was legal and authorized by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And so does the blame sort of fall on the FDA in that case? Because it can be imagined that the FDA also had access to this data, and they approved the drug even after conducting their own clinical trials. And did they also reach the same conclusion that it's not addictive? And so is it really the fault of the drug, or is it the fault of the people who consume the drug? And that is sort of the scenario that plays out. There's all these lawyers and all these public litigations going on against the Sacklers, and Purdue would say that it is the fault of the Sacklers that, they overlooked the addictive tendencies of the drug. And then it's the Sacklers' response that, well, we are not the only ones. The FDA also approved this. So in reality, it may be the fault of the consumer, who already may have a predisposition towards drug addiction. And they run their own studies and their own tests about, XYZ person got addicted to this, but before this they were addicted to heroin, or before this they were addicted to some other painkiller. And it's a really amazing book. It's sort of, as I said, with The World for Sale and Kleptopia, even though it is a piece of investigative journaling, it reads like fiction, because these stories are, you don't seem to think that they're real. And the writing style is quite magnificent. I didn't get bored reading this book Not even a single page is boring, according to me. And one of the main, I would say, benefits of reading this book is you really have the opportunity to think from different perspectives. So like I said, one perspective is, was Purdue Pharma at fault, or was the public at fault, the consumers of the drug, were they at fault, or was it a mix of both? And another one is, as I mentioned, the patriarch of the family, so to speak, who was Arthur Sackler. Well, when the public litigations come out and people are suing the Purdue and the Sacklers, Arthur also gets mixed up in it. But Arthur has been long dead. He died before OxyContin was started to be manufactured. And so these public litigations and the defamations against the Sacklers also drag in Arthur, who had nothing to do with this. So that leads you to think, well, was Arthur also at fault? Or are the people suing the company, are they at fault for bringing in him and his side of the family, who had pretty much, according to the book, very little to do with the Purdue Pharma brand? And so those are the sort of things that come up in the book. And it's a really interesting way to play the devil's advocate in your own mind and reach your own conclusion, right? Because Purdue Pharma is a private company, and in a free market enterprise, it was just trying to maximize its profits and deliver shareholder value. It's sort of its fiduciary duty, but that might have come at the broader cost of starting a pandemic or an epidemic in the United States, which has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. What amount of blame can be put on the Purdue company, and by extrapolation, what amount of blame can be put on the Sacklers themselves? What role did they play? And so if you can start imagining both sides of the story as you're reading this book, and if you really give it some thought, you can come to some really interesting conclusions. Your conclusion might even be that the Sacklers were completely right in doing what they did because their drug had FDA approval, those sort of things. It's a really interesting book, really amazing. It highlights a lot of key points about the Sacklers and Purdue and the unfortunate state of the opioid epidemic in the United States. But also, at the same time, it gives you the option to think freely and sort of come up with your own arguments and counter-arguments to the things presented in the book. So yeah, I would say this is a definite must-read for someone who just wants to read a good piece of investigative journaling, but more so for someone who wants to, develop critical thinking skills. Because if you read this book, there will be a lot of natural questions that come up, and you can write them down, you can think more over them, you can expand on them, etc., etc. I don't want to spoil the book too much, but it is an amazing read and you should definitely check it out. So here it is once again. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new and haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel to keep receiving more videos like this one. I have been Abeer Rao, and thanks for watching.